Sony is furious at Naughty Dog and Bungie, and gamers are not happy with Sony right now because there is not going to be a Destiny 3. In fact, they're turning the lights off on Destiny 2, and there's a petition out there. We'll talk about that. But there's a whole lot of craziness going on with Sony. All these companies now are trying to be more profitable than they've been in the last couple of years because there's been a lot of money spent on AAA games that haven't gone anywhere, and most of that has been in the live service space. I mean, hundreds of millions of dollars being burnt on these games, and Destiny 2 has been a huge flop. I mean, it really has been. Bungie is striking out between this and Marathon. It's not looking too good for them. I think a lot of these companies, especially Sony, I think they're going to go back to making simpler games that they can actually get out more than one game every 5 or 6 years. And we're going to talk about Naughty Dog too. Apparently Naughty Dog is in the doghouse too with Sony, according to Jason Schreier, which apparently he was misquoted, but he basically said that Sony's not happy about these companies taking 5 or 6 years to put out a game. And then you've got other games like, Astrobot that, relatively cheap. It was relatively cheap and it got out in a decent amount of time and it sold a bunch of copies. And I think they're going to be looking at this going forward for the PlayStation 6. Like, how do we balance making good games, not breaking the bank, and not taking 10 years to make the damn game? And I think they're going to look at AI. I mean, I'm going to be honest. I think it's going to help them make games faster, and you're just going to have to get used to it. But we'll talk about everything going on with Sony right now and Bungie and Naughty Dog. Before we get into it any further, please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants. Guys, if you'd like more of us, go out to more.clownfishtv.com. That's more.clownfishtv.com for more podcasts and episodes you will not find here on YouTube. And it's also the way to support us because we do not do the live stream super chat thing over here. So if you want to support us, go over there. And for less than one super chat, you can get some paywall content. Also, if you want to check out the audio only version of Clownfish TV, it's on iTunes, Spotify, iHeart, all the places you find podcasts. So check us out over there. Let's talk about this. This is coming from 80 Level. Bungie ends its Destiny era and cancels all future content plans. Bungie has confirmed that Destiny 2's final major update will arrive in June, effectively ending the game's long-running live content pipeline. As the studio shifts focus towards new projects, Destiny 2 will go into maintenance mode. That is the kiss of death for live service. This felt all but inevitable in the age of live service games, but I'd be lying if I didn't say part of me felt like maybe new content in Destiny 2 would last forever. It's not the case. I know Destiny 2 has its players. It definitely has people that love this game. I personally I don't care for live service games just on the principle of the thing that you don't really own the game. And we've seen so many examples of players sinking thousands of hours and thousands of dollars into these games only to have them disappear. And that's kind of crap. And, I think the last time I really, really got into a live service game was decades ago with Ultima Online, which I still love, but at least Ultima Online, you have the option of creating private shards, and a lot of these games is like once it's over, right? So after a decade of expansion, seasonal content raids, and live service evolution, Bungie has officially confirmed the end of Destiny's major content roadmap that includes sequels, expansions, and new content updates as it switches into maintenance mode. As our focus turns toward a new beginning for Bungie, we will begin work incubating our next games. To that end, on June 9th, we will release the final live service content update for Destiny 2. Though active development may be concluding, we will ensure that Destiny 2 remains playable, just as the original Destiny is today. Okay, so that's good. Many changes in this final update will aim to ensure Destiny 2 is a welcoming place for players to return to. We're proud of Destiny 2, the places it took us, the legacy it has created, etc., etc., etc. While Destiny 2 will remain online and playable, Bungie has stated the game's active development cycle is concluding. The studio also indicated that its regular cadence of This Week in Destiny updates and ongoing content support will slow down following the final release. Of course it will. So yeah, Destiny 2 came out in 2017, and the original Destiny was pretty popular. People thought it was going to be the Halo killer Halo killed itself. So they really need to kill Halo. But they said, yeah, the decision arrives during an especially turbulent period for Bungie since Sony acquired the studio for $3.6 billion in 2022. Without Halo, what did you buy exactly? I'm just saying. Bungie has faced multiple rounds of layoffs, project restructuring, delays, and growing pressure surrounding both Destiny 2 and Marathon. Their latest financial results did not paint an encouraging picture. Yeah, I think a lot of these companies are pulling back on live service because you can only have so many live service games, and most people stick with whatever they've been playing, whether it's, Call of Duty or Fortnite or whatever it is. People have been playing the same games for like 10 years, and they're not going to switch to something new. And so many of these companies have spent hundreds of millions of dollars just to, again, run headfirst into the wood chipper with, oh, we're going to make a live service game. How many just this year? I can't even keep track of all the live service games in the last 365 days that have come and gone, and just they shut them down within months, sometimes weeks. Concord, that was a couple of weeks. But players are demanding a Destiny 3. So this is coming from the Game Post. Destiny 3 demand grows louder as petition hits 200,000 signatures ahead of June 9th player rally in Destiny 2. 200,000 players. That's not enough money to spend another, $200 million, in this game. Destiny fans are pushing for Sony for Destiny 3 as a fast-growing petition crosses 200,000 signatures ahead of Destiny 2's final live service update on June 9th. So they said Destiny 2 Monument of Triumph is the final live service content update. The news landed harder after reports claim that Destiny 3 is not currently in development. Nope. Why would they make a Destiny 3 if Destiny 2 did not do that well? And Bungie does not have a new Destiny-related project greenlit for the Destiny 2 team right now. That's not going to happen. They're probably all going to get fired. According to those reports, Bungie developers are still pitching possible new projects, including ideas tied to Destiny, but nothing has been approved yet. Following that announcement, fans started a change.org petition asking Sony to develop Destiny 3 because that always works. Those change.org petitions, every single one of them, yes, that works. I've seen change petitions get hundreds and hundreds of thousands of signatures. So here's the truth. And look, I appreciate your dedication. I do. But the truth is, it doesn't cost you anything to sign a petition. What these companies look at is, are you willing to commit dollars? And if they were smart, even the big companies, even the AAA companies, you go on Kickstarter or something. I'm serious. You go on Kickstarter and you see how many people are willing to commit actual money to a project to see it get made. I don't think you'll have 200,000 people dropping like $1,000 to get a Destiny 3 made. But who knows? I've seen Kickstarters recently, even tabletop Kickstarters doing millions of dollars. But the amount of money it would take to do a Destiny 3 is staggering. But they could gauge interest, right? And I think more and more companies need to do this. They need to kind of look at like Kickstarter and like Hasbro Pulse, and it might not be a good indication of how it's going to do at mass market, but it'll give you a good idea as to whether or not there's demand for a product or demand for a game. And if you put something up, like if they put Concord up on Kickstarter, it would have freaking failed because everybody looked at that and said, yeah, this is shit. But if you said, hey, we're going to do, I don't know, we talked about it the other day, we're going to do another Spyro game, guys. Let's try, if we hit, $1 million on Kickstarter for a Spyro 4, then there's a pretty good chance other people would buy Spyro 4 at Walmart. I mean, that's kind of what they look at, right? Develop Destiny 3 petition crosses 200,000 signatures as fans push Sony to greenlight the sequel. Good luck with that. I mean, seriously, good luck with that. Still, that does not mean it's useless. They said, yeah, these campaigns don't usually go anywhere. A fast-growing petition sends a public message. Players are not done with Destiny. No, they want to see dollars. And again, this is the same with Disney. Like Disney will, in the parks, they will weigh guest services complaints over like random internet complaints. So if you go guest services in a Disney theme park and you complain about a thing, that means a lot more than some random person who's not actually in the theme park complaining about a thing, because that means you paid to get into the park. You are a paying customer. And as a paying customer, your opinion means more. I mean, it means infinitely more. So again, they would have to see dollars attached to this, I think, and they're going to look at it and be like, yeah, no, we just we just got hosed on Destiny 2. We just got hosed on Marathon. We're not making a Destiny 3. Another sign of how far the campaign has spread came from Destiny 2 voice actor Brandon O'Neill, known for doing the voice of Crow and Uldron Solve. In a recent cameo message, he called on Guardians to gather together at the tower. I have not played Destiny since like 2015. I'm going to be real. Like I'd never touched Destiny 2. I played the original Destiny. Wasn't my thing. Wasn't as good as Halo in my opinion, but it came with the PS4. We actually got the Destiny version of the PS4. We have the white PS4. And we won it from Taco Bell. I'm not even kidding. So we won our PS4 from Taco Bell, and it came with Destiny, and I played Destiny, and I got bored. I'm sorry for all of you who like Destiny, but I'm not a big Destiny player. So if I'm mangling these names, that's probably why. I just know the story that it's not doing that great. They said, yeah, they added cameo. Is that what we all do? Like all YouTubers and voice actors? Like that's our version of OnlyFans. You get a cameo. I'm just saying. They said for one final Destiny update, they have one big push before adding the support, his support for the growing We Want Destiny 3 push. Across Reddit, oh my God, guys, fans are organizing around June 9th, asking players to log in for one last big show of support. It's not, look, maybe it'll happen. I think what's going to happen. I'm going to tell you the truth. I think the whole company is going to get shut down. I think Bungie is going to get shut down completely. I think they're just going to absorb Bungie into the rest of Sony, and that's going to be it. Sony Gaming, and that's going to be it. So apparently the teams learned of development on Destiny 2 being stopped at the time of the public announcement. That is so typical. That is so typical, because what usually happens is these corporations make the decision in the boardroom. They don't tell everybody. They don't want to panic anybody. They certainly don't want the media to freak out. So yeah, you find out at the same time everybody else finds out that there's not going to be any more Destiny 2, which means you better start putting your stuff in the box, because they're going to lay you off. They say, according to sources, this is Paul Tassi, who I know follows Destiny. I don't agree with him on everything, but I know he knows his shit when it comes to Destiny. He said, according to his sources, the vast majority of Bungie employees were unaware that production had even halted until the public announcement. Some were working on future content for Destiny 2 even after management made the decision. Additionally, regarding future layoffs, there was a meeting held at the studio. The question came up repeatedly, but management gave no specific answers. There could be many departures. They're not expected to happen immediately. No, I think they're going to get rid of a lot of people. I think they are. So let's talk about where Sony's at right now. Sony is getting hosed by a lot of these acquisitions. This kind of reminds me of Disney. They bought a bunch of stuff they didn't know how to manage properly, and then the budgets ballooned, and we put out some bad movies, and they didn't make money. But something was said. Jason Schreier basically said that Sony is not happy with Naughty Dog specifically, but that got mangled, lost in translation. But he basically said that they're not happy with him taking so long to get these games out. And apparently they spent over 5 years and $300 million on Air Galactic, which everybody's mocking at this point. So I don't know how that's going to go. So Bloomberg's Jason Schreier took the blue sky to talk about his recent findings on the current status of Bungie, mentioning that the studio is planning a significant layoff following the end of Destiny 2's development, and that a sequel isn't in active production. As per him, cost of production was the reason why the developer didn't immediately start working on Destiny 3 after finishing work on the Final Shape expansion 2 years ago. To this, a follower commented that Sony Interactive Entertainment seemingly has no issue letting Naughty Dog spend over 5 years more than $300 million on a single-player game, yet is concerned about spending money on a new MMO shooter with a dedicated fan base. His response was enlightening. According to Schreier, Sony Interactive does indeed have an issue letting Naughty Dog spend over 5 years more than $300 million on a single-player game. Oh, Sony definitely has an issue with that. He said the studio took around 7 years to release The Last of Us Part 2. It may take even more time to finish work on Intergalactic: The Heretic: Prophet. Meanwhile, other PlayStation first-party titles or studios like Insomniac and Housemarque have released multiple single-player titles in the frame it takes Naughty Dog to finish one. Yeah, so he said his words were twisted, that what he actually meant was Sony is not happy in general with the speed at which these games are being produced, because you can't just have a studio out there making like one game per console generation. It's really crazy. I was thinking about this the other day with Square. Square's coming up again, and people were talking about Final Fantasy 7 Part 3 or whatever, remake, Part 3, remake, rebirth, reunion, whatever they're going to call it, and how damn long it's taken to get this done. And back in the day, Square, I mean, I understand the games weren't as advanced as they are now. The graphics were not as advanced, but Square used to put out like at least a half a dozen games a year, and most of them were pretty good. Most companies put out multiple games per year. And, Capcom, all these companies. And now it's like, oh, one big release every couple of years. The same with Square. It's like, we're just going to re-release all the Final Fantasy games, and we'll put like 1 or 2 new games out a year. But they got hosed on the Western development style. And I think that's what this is. I think it's a Western AAA development style, which is spend a decade and an ungodly amount of money on something. Was it Ubisoft? One of the big companies, they shut a studio down that they were around for like 5 years, and they hadn't produced a single game in 5 years. And they have like hundreds of people working there. I mean, I'm like, what other industry can do this? I mean, do you want to know why the gaming industry is so screwed up right now and why the economics are so bad? When you've got game studios out there that are in business for 5 years, employing a couple hundred people, and they can't produce a single game. How many salaries? How many exorbitant salaries? Absorbent. Yeah, they're not absorbing the losses. How many exorbitant salaries are there? How many of these people are unionized? They're making 6 figures. Just a drain on the company, right? And I don't know how this game is going to do, because honestly, people kind of fell out of love with Naughty Dog. The Last of Us is damaged goods. The second game, it sold really well initially, but I don't think people are really into it now. And the TV show flopped because they followed the same path as the game, which destroyed that franchise. So now Naughty Dog, which used to be the Crash Bandicoot studio, everybody loved Crash Bandicoot, but now it's basically just Neil Druckmann's fanfic factory, right? They just kind of like make Neil Druckmann's fanfics, and if it takes 7 years to make a game or whatever, I think a lot of these developers too, they lose track of the business side of things. I think video games right now, the cart has completely gotten away from the horse, where they lose track of the fact that they're creating a commercial product, and they all think they're creating fine art. And back in the day, like, you had to crank games out. I mean, you did the best job you could do, and you hoped the game was really good when it shipped. But you had to ship games, because if you don't ship games, you don't get paid for those games, and you can't make more games, right? If all your people are tied up doing this one game for 7 or 8 or 10 years or whatever it is, and you're basically betting the farm on one title, I think you're better off spending less money on like 10 different titles, because at least 1 or 2 of those will probably land. And that's what I think Hollywood's looking at too. And all these companies are looking at is, they're like, we can't bet the farm on one property anymore. We can't bet hundreds of millions of dollars on one property anymore. It's just not viable. It doesn't work. It's not good business. And I think that, a lot of these companies are going to look at the business of games going forward, just like Hollywood has to look at the business of making movies. And the business is, you got to put out product that people want. You got to put it out consistently. You do the best job you can do, but mostly you should ship pretty much a complete game, I think, too. That's bothering people, and you need to come in under budget, right? I'm not saying cheap out, but $300 million and 7 to 10 years of development time for a game that may or may not be a success. how many copies do you have to sell to make that back, right? That's crazy. That's just absolutely crazy to spend that much money. And this is why we see this cycle of HD remakes all the time, because they got to go back, because they got to have new products. So like, okay, well, let's just, dust off the Ocarina of Time and bring that out here. Let's just dust off, The Last of Us and put out a reimagined version of it, because they have to make money in the interim. Square, it's all Final Fantasy remakes, Dragon Quest remakes. It's really dumb. We should be moving forward. We're not moving forward because it takes too damn long to move forward. So I don't know, just a theory on my part, but yeah, I think Sony's had enough. I think they've had enough. I think they're gonna try to, same with Xbox. I think they're all going to survive. They're going to take a good hard look at the amounts of money they're spending on these games, and they're going to try to put their money in the right place. They're going to look for more games like Astrobot that cost a fraction of what these other games cost, and they get them out the door in a decent amount of time. I know that's what I would do. I'd be like, you know what? We have $300 million. We can make one Neil Druckmann fanfic, or we can make 6 mid-range titles, and hopefully one of those 6 mid-range titles will do pretty good. Just saying. Gonna wrap it up. Please subscribe. We'll talk later.